Hello, sailors. I'm Captain Tom Tersey from the Maryland School of Sailing and Seamanship. Buoys and beacons are the navigational aids that the U.S. Coast Guard and some private parties deploy to assist mariners in plying the navigable waters both inside and around the U.S. Buoys are the floating aids that mark channels, obstructions, and many other features of our waterways and our nearshore ocean areas. Beacons are physical structures rigidly attached to the earth on dry land or in the water, and include both major lighthouses on down to simple poles with a dayboard affixed. Beacons also include electronic signaling devices, both real and virtual. There are many thousands of buoys and beacons throughout U.S. waters, and the Coast Guard maintains a database of these both online and in published documents such as the Light List, printed in 9 volumes of several hundred pages each. Let's download and study one of these volumes, let's say for the Middle Atlantic states of the U.S. mainland.
Let's look at the Light List. If I simply Google USCG Light List, I will usually find a link that says the Coast Guard Nav Center. If I hit that one, I come to this page, and you see here it says Light List Annual Publication, and it shows the different areas. And if I choose Mid-Atlantic here, it gives me this Light List Volume 2 from New Jersey to South Carolina. You can download that complete PDF. I want to walk through this and give you an overview of what's in here. Let's first look at the introduction to it. And I'm going to just pop through this introduction very, very quickly. I strongly urge that you read this introduction because it's going to be very enlightening to you as to that system that's out there. First off, a description of column. This is what one of the pages, one of the detailed pages would look like, or does look like. And here are the columns in this page. And you see the first column is the number of the navigational aid. So this is one very specific buoy, number 7190. And here's the number given to it. Here's a name and location of that buoy. Here's its position, latitude, longitude. Here's its light characteristics, flashing red 4 seconds. Here's the height. If it's a beacon, this is a light, and therefore it has a height of the light in that column. This one is called range, column 6. This is the brightness of the light. And this 5 is 5 nautical miles. That is, that light is bright enough to be seen at a distance of 5 nautical miles in clear visibility. Then column 7, it describes the structure and any remarks that are appropriate. So that's the kind of information that's in the tabulation, and this goes on for hundreds of pages just for the Middle Atlantic. The NavAid system, and it describes this system in specific detail. The intercoastal waterway, western rivers, bridge markings, private aids, oil well structures, buoys and beacons. It defines a buoy, a beacon, and an AIS. AIS stands for Automated Identification System. Types of signals, lighted aids, light colors, and the various types of colors that are used, the shapes of buoys and dayboards. Here are the descriptions. These various codes deal with dayboards and the different designations on dayboards. Numbers, letters used on navigational aids, sound signals. A device called raycons, and these raycons respond when your radar from your boat hits the raycon on that buoy. That raycon sends a signal back to your radar screen. Radar reflectors. Now, beside the columns that I showed you a few minutes ago, this is also showing you the chart number, the NOAA chart number that this particular set of NavAid are shown on. So here's chart 12326 and 12323. I have certain nav aids shown here, and I have them associated with a particular chart number. I can, if I'm looking at this nav aid Or if I have this chart and I want to see what nav aids are on it, I can go back and look at those charts. In the light list is this color picture. It shows all the different types of nav aids that are used. The first set of navigational aid types that we're talking about here are shown at the top here. These are called lateral aids. That is, they are the borders of channels, basically. And you see you have red and green. So if I look at these green here and these red over here, those are the navigational aids that border a channel. Now, we use the terminology red, right, returning. When we're sailing in, let's say, from big water to little water, I'm sailing in from the ocean into a bay. I'm returning from sea. In that case, we use the system that puts the red marks on your right and the green on your left. And to remind you of that, we say red, right, returning. Red, right, returning from sea. So these red marks are on your right when you're coming in from the sea, and the green are on your left when you're coming in from the sea. And the opposite is true when you're going out. I use the additional reminder which says if I'm going from the bay out to the ocean in that direction, I use green, right, going. Green, right, going, meaning green, right, going out, okay? And these are the different types of marks that we have. So let's look at this in some detail. This shows that you have 4 types of marks. One is a lighted beacon. Now this is a pole which is attached to the earth. It has a dayboard on it with this number 1 or some other number. It has a green light on it. A buoy, which is floating, has a green light on it. I have a dayboard here which is fixed to the earth. There's no light. And I have a green buoy which is floating, no light. So those 4 types of marks. Lighted dayboard, lighted buoy, unlighted dayboard, unlighted buoy. And then this is the symbol, the type of symbol that's shown on the chart. There's a black dot on the chart, and there's a teardrop in red color, magenta color. 1 is the number that's painted on the beacon, and flashing green 6 seconds, that refers to the color of the light and the frequency, the speed at which it flashes. The lighted buoy shows the green diamond, and it shows a red circle, a magenta circle. Now this red in this circle does not mean it's a red light. That red circle simply means it's lighted. This red teardrop simply means it's lighted, but it does not mean it's color. The color is designated by the printing, by the words, flashing green 4 seconds, flashing green 6 seconds. G9 refers to the buoy itself. Flashing G 4 seconds refers to the light. Then we see the unlighted beacon, which on the chart shows as simply a green square and the words or the letters G5. Now whatever is in quotes on the chart, that's what's painted on the mark. So you see there's a 5 on the mark, and the chart says G5 with quotations. GC refers to can because it's the shape of a can, and 9 in quotation refers to what's painted on the buoy. Let's slide over to the red side.
The differences are the color is red as opposed to green. Numbers where used are even as opposed to odd on the green side, and the shape is tapered as in the day beacons and in the unlighted buoy. The marks on the chart are very, very similar. The difference is that the floating buoys and the day beacon triangle are colored red as opposed to green. That magenta teardrop does not mean red color, it simply means that it's lighted. And on the floating lighted buoy, we also have a red circle, as we did on the green side, but that red circle does not mean the color, it simply means that it's lighted. So everything here on the red side is similar to the green side, with the three exceptions. One is the shape, second is the even numbers, and third is the color red.
Here is a green lighted buoy. It's floating, has a light on it, it's green, has an odd number 7 on it. Here's a floating red buoy, lighted, red, number 4. Here's an unlighted green 13, unlighted red 18. Here's a pole with day boards on it. It's a lighted pole. It's got a red light on it. It has those red triangular day marks on it. Here are unlighted day boards. So there's a red, no light. There's a green with no light. And these two are beacons. I mentioned to you that the beacon is anything that's affixed to the earth. So both this pole and this Cape Henry light are both affixed to the earth, are both beacons. So let's look at some examples of these on a chart. Chart 12282. This is around Annapolis. This is called Chesapeake Harbor. Coming into Chesapeake Harbor, we have a whole series of marks. Shown here is a beacon, the black dot, the red teardrop, and I got the description. Flashing red, 4 seconds, 14 feet, 2, in quotations. So that tells me that that is a beacon. It's affixed to the earth. It's not a buoy. It has a red light with a flashing sequence of 4 seconds. It's 14 feet high. Painted on it is number 2. Coming into that channel further, I have this floating buoy, red none 4, red none 6, and over here a beacon, flashing red, 4 seconds, 14 feet, number 8. And on the left side of the channel coming in, green can 3, green can 5, green can number 7. Flashing green, 4 seconds, 14 feet, number 9. Let's track this down a little bit further. Let me show you what the light list itself says. Within this, I see Chesapeake Harbor. That's what we're looking at on the chart. And I have this whole series of marks coming in. Entrance light number 2, flashing red, 4 seconds, 14 feet, TR on pile. Let's close the loop on that. I want to take you to the introduction part of this light list and look up TR. It tells me it's a triangular red dayboard with a red reflective border. The light list tells me that it has a TR on the piling. But the chart does not tell me that. The chart tells me only it's a flashing red, 4 second, 14 feet, number 2. So the reason I want to emphasize this is that it's important to use both the chart and the light list to clearly identify the marks that you're looking at. The chart does not give all the information, but the light list, the printed light list, the PDF that you can download, does include all the information. So if I'm coming into that channel and I see a red triangle with the number 2 on it, the light list will give me a positive identification of what I'm looking at. And then the rest of these buoys shown here are the additional ones that were coming into this channel. And then these 2 beacons on the jetties, and the chart doesn't tell you that there's jetties there, does it? But again, if I go to the light list tells me that jetty light number 8 and jetty light number 9, flashing red, 4 seconds, 14 feet, and so forth. Apparently no dayboard on those, because if there was a dayboard on those, it would show like this one. So these are simply those pilings, apparently without a dayboard, but it does have the lights, but they are on jetties. So there's a lot more information given here in the light list that's not on the chart. And that's one of the vital points that I want to clarify with you is that it's very important to use both the chart and the light list in your navigation. Now we can have a junction in a channel. We have a fork in the road. We're coming in from the sea and the channel splits into two different legs. And at that point you have a channel junction mark. And it also tells you which is the preferred channel and which is the secondary channel. These marks here are what are called preferred channel marks. They are still lateral marks. They are still red and green. So let's look at some of this configuration. This buoy here, it has a green light. It has green over red. On the chart, there's a diamond which shows it's a floating buoy. It has green over red in the picture on the chart. And the words say GRA, meaning A would be painted on the mark. And it has a flashing sequence, flashing 2+1 green 6 seconds. Here is a red over green. It has a red light. It has red top on the buoy, green bottom. And the picture in the chart is red over green. And the words say RGB. Now notice that this is green over red. The words here say GR, green over red. This is red over green, and the words here say RG, red over green. So notice the difference in the lettering here. The first letter is the top color. Anytime you have green and red, it is a junction mark. That's the only time both green and red are used on the same mark. Now we have day beacons that are also green over red. So if I have a beacon, a pole standing in the water with a day board on it, and has this mark on it, green over red, it tells you it's a junction mark. The chart shows a white square, but it gives the words GR, U. The U in quotes what painted on it. The can is green over red on the chart. GR is the wording. And notice over here that we have a red over green day board, white triangle on the chart, RG printed on the chart with the word G as being the letter on this mark. And we have a none, but the top work is red and the bottom color is green, so it's red over green. I have to now show you how these are used in actual situations. Here's a Chester River. You notice there's a branch over here and there's another branching over here. And we have some channel junction buoys. So right here is a green over red. It's a diamond shape, so it's a floating buoy. There's no red magenta circle, so there's no light on it. GR says green over red. C says can. LC is what's painted on it, referring to a geographic location which is nearby, Langford Creek. This says if I want the primary channel, that is the Chester River, which is the primary channel, the preferred channel, I'm going to follow the top color on this mark. So what does that mean? You recall previously we said coming in from the sea and going into a river up an estuary, I'm going to keep red on the right and green on the left. So if I want to follow this Chester River here, I'm going to follow the top color of this junction buoy. Therefore, I'm going to keep it on my left coming in. Now, let me show you the opposite situation. Here's still the main channel coming up the river, Chester River, and here's the Corsica River branching off. Now, here's a junction buoy. Now, this one is red over green, and it says it's a none, it's unlighted, and it's painted CR for Corsica River. Now I want to go up the main channel, which is the Chester River, not the Corsica River. And over here I have a red mark, a red buoy. I'm coming up here, I'm going to leave that red to starboard. I am also going to leave this to starboard if I want to follow the main channel. Let's say I do want to follow the main channel, therefore I keep this red top to starboard. If I want to go into the Corsica, I'm going to follow the green color, the bottom color, the secondary color. I want to show you some photos. Here's a unlighted junction buoy, a tapered top, the nun shape, it's unlighted, and if I want to follow the main channel with Chester River, I would leave this to the starboard because it's red over green. If I want to follow the secondary channel and go up the Corsica River, I would follow the bottom color. That's this one. If I look at the other one and I want to stay in the Chester River, I'm going to again follow the top color, which would be this. But if I want to go up the Langford Creek, I'm going to follow the bottom color. So the general rule to follow is, first off, we remember it's red right returning and it's green left returning because I'm in the channel between greens and reds. And if I want to follow the main channel and I see a red and green, I follow the top color to stay in the main channel. I follow the bottom color to go in the secondary channel.
Let's take a look at how these junction buoys are presented in the light list. Here is for Langford Creek Junction Buoy LC. You see it's item number 26665, identified as Junction Buoy LC. Latitude, longitude is given, and under structure it shows green and red bands. It's a can, and there's no other information given. And the Corsica River Junction Buoy, number 26710, identified as Junction Buoy CR. The position is given, latitude, longitude, and under the structure column is given red and green bands, none, and no other information is given.
These are all what are called lateral marks. They basically mark the channel. Now there's other types of marks that are used as well on that same color picture that you're looking at. This red and white are called safe water marks. The safe water marks are red and white vertically striped, not horizontal bands. They have a red ball as a shape to help you identify it. It has a white light. This is a non-lighted, and you see the symbols on the charts. Red and white LP MOA, a diamond again, therefore it's a floating buoy. It has this red magenta circle, means that it's lighted. It does not mean that it's a red light, it means that it's lighted. It's a red and white mark, so you know therefore that the light is going to be white. That's what this told us, white light only. If I go to the light list, in the index, it showed Upper Chesapeake Channel, 8320. Now I have this 8320. It's a floating buoy. Lighted buoy LP shows a position. The fact that it's a MOA, MO refers to Morse code A. So the light has a Morse code flashing sequence on it. It has a visibility range of 6 miles and clear visibility, red and white stripes, and this says replaced by LIB of reduced intensity during these dates. And I'm going to show you what LIB is. I'm going to search that, LIB, and here's a definition of an LIB, a lighted ice buoy. A lighted buoy without a sound signal and to withstand the forces of shifting and flowing ice, used to replace a conventional buoy when the aid to navigation is endangered by ice. And they told you in the light list that that was the case from December 1st to March 15th. So this information is not on the chart. It's in the light list. There's a red and white buoy. Now that one is lighted. It has that red ball on the top. I'm still on this color picture that we've been looking at. You see these range day boards. A range is where they have two beacons on poles that are lined up. Those beacons will line up and keep you aligned within the channel. So let me show you an example of that. This is Stamford, Connecticut. And here I have a channel coming in from Long Island Sound, and there's a split in the channel. But near that split is this set of range markers. The purpose of them is to keep you in this channel. You notice there's a lot of shallows on each side of it, but if you're coming up this channel and you're following the buoys, if I'm also following these range markers and if I keep them aligned, I'm going to have assurance that I'm in the channel. Because if I stray out here, those markers will not be standing in a line. They'll be separated. But if I'm in the channel, they'll be in perfect alignment. If I'm over here on the left side, they'll be out of alignment again. These are both fixed to the earth, and therefore the alignment of them depends on my position and how I'm looking at them. This one is marked Q for quick, and there's no color specified, therefore it's a white light. So it's a quick white light, 26 feet high, and over here it's an ISO red, 6 seconds, and it's 45 feet high. I'm going to go to light list number 1, which is for the New England area. It's going to show me this Stamford range, and it shows me the chart 1, 2, 3, 6, 8. It shows me the range front light, the range rear light. Remember I said that that front light was a quick white. The front light is 26 feet high, the rear light is 45 feet high, and ISO red. These both have day boards, KRW. That refers to a day board. And here's a day board, KRW. It's a red board with a white center stripe. So on these day boards, the middle letter, the R, refers to the outer colors, and the last letter refers to the center color. So this says KRW. Red is a red board with a white center stripe. Now the way these are used is simply to identify that board when you look at it. So here we have these two beacons with these KRW boards on them, day boards, and I know that when I'm looking at those in the real world, that those in fact are the two beacons that are referred to in this light list, and it says KRW. So I can look at the chart, and I see on the chart quick 26 feet, but it doesn't tell me anything about the day board. And here it tells me ISO red 6 seconds 45 feet, doesn't tell me about the day board. But I go to the light list, and the light list says to me, okay, there are day boards on it. So therefore, in the real world, I look at these in the vicinity I'm looking for, fine, there's the day boards that I'm looking for. So everything connects together, but you have to understand that you've got these different pieces that have to be correlated. What the chart says, and what the light list says, and what your eye says when you look at it in the real world. So those are range markers. Special yellow marks. These are to alert you to a special condition. Let's look at another chart, 12230. And I'm coming up Chesapeake Bay, and I come to an area where you see here prohibited area. There's yellow marks out here. Yellow D, flashing yellow 2.5 seconds. Flashing yellow C. So let me go to, again, the light list. U.S. Navy aerial gunnery area. Lighted buoy C, lighted buoy D. Here's location, flashing yellow 4 seconds, flashing yellow 2.5 seconds. Yellow marks replaced by none when endangered by ice. So that simply alerts you to that hazard area. Now let's also look at this. It says prohibited area, and it has this paragraph number. Well, there's another document that you can download off the internet, and that's the Coast Pilot. This is from New Jersey to Virginia. The contents show that Chapter 2 are the navigation regulations. And this contains a whole series of paragraphs that describe particular areas of interest. So this 334.200 is a paragraph number in that Coast Pilot book. So let's look in that book and look at that 334.200. And this tells us Chesapeake Bay, U.S. Navy Aerial Gunnery Range, and this tells you all the regulations related to that area. So this is in the Coast Pilot, and there's a different Coast Pilot for each area of U.S. waters. These range marks are day boards, but they're all dedicated strictly to ranges. Here are some day boards that are not range marks. These day boards are simply to identify a particular location, and they have code numbers NR, NG, and NB for red, green, and black. Let's go to chart 25647. This is in the Caribbean. Here's an area here, we call it Current Cut, and it's very narrow passage through there, and go through there or here. And on this little island here, all these rocks around it, flashing 6 seconds, 20 feet, 7M for 7 mile white light. Here's a photo of that. And on it, it has this day board with the red diamonds and the white diamonds and a white light on top. So if I go to the light list, number 3 for this, and within that light list, it tells you about Current Cut, 32470. Here's a location. Flashing white 6 seconds. It's 20 feet high. It's a 7 mile light. It has NR on Skeleton Tower as a day board. So I go back to our color picture, and you see NR is this. So you have a positive identification of what you're looking at is what you're looking at.
The next item shown here is this isolated dangers mark. And as you see, it has black and red horizontal bands with black on top. It has 2 balls. It has a white light, or it has no light. And here is what's shown on the chart. A diamond shape with the 2 balls showing as a shape mark and black over red. And on this left-hand chart image is the lighted showing a red magenta circle. And on the right-hand chart image shows no magenta circle, meaning that it's unlighted. And you see it has a white light only up here, and it has a flashing sequence of flashing 2 5 seconds. And here is a photograph of that. It's lighted. It's a white light, 2 black balls, black top band, and then below that is the red band. And let's go to chart 13278. And we see here Cedar Ledge, and we see a black and red can, black over red, even though the picture on the chart is drawn upside down. But the base of the can is red, and the top is black. And it has 2 black balls, and it has no light in this case. And the legend on it is BR, meaning black over red, C, like Charlie, meaning it's a can, and then in quotes, DC, quote. So that's what's shown on the chart. And if we then go to the light list volume number 1, and I search for Cedar Island Ledge, and I find this number 237. And I see number 237, Cedar Ledge Isolated Dangers Buoy, DC, gives a latitude, longitude, position. It's not lighted. You see no light listed in the characteristic, no height, no range.
And under the structure, it says black and red bands with 2 black spherical top marks, semicolon, can. This page represents the light rhythms that are used on the various navigational charts, called characteristics of lights. The left-hand column is a diagram to help you understand that rhythm. The middle column describes it in words, and the right-hand column is the abbreviation that's used on the charts and in the light list. Now, it may sound funny as I go through this and try to demonstrate some of these to you by voice, but believe me, it really helps when you're looking at a light flashing at you and you're trying to figure out what is the rhythm of that light. And if you actually practice following the light rhythm and talk it, it's going to help you understand what that flashing sequence is. The first item on here is the occulting light. And an occulting light is one in which the light is on more than it's off. So you have a long period of light and a short period of dark. So it's on, off, on, off, on, off. And that's a single occulting light, and it's represented on the chart as capital OC. The other item shown on this chart, there's a little notation here about the period, and the period is the duration of a one cycle. So, for example, in this single occulting light, you see a dotted line at the beginning of this white period, this on period, and then you have another dotted line at the beginning of the next on period. So the period is the total duration between those 2 points, and the chart is going to tell you the duration of a complete period. And a complete period represents a complete cycle of these flashes. The next one is a group occulting light, where you have off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, and that is represented on the chart as occulting parenthesis 2. Then the next one down is a composite group occulting, and that's represented by off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, and that's represented on the chart by occulting parenthesis 2 plus 1. Then you have isophase, where the light and dark periods are equal in duration. And then you have flashing, the light period is shorter than the dark period. So you have a short light and a long dark. So, for example, we have here single flashing represented by FL on the chart. And in this case, on, off, on, off, on, off. And then the next item is a group flashing represented on the chart as FL parenthesis 2. And here, as you see, you have combinations of light and dark periods. So for example, it's on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. And then the next one is composite group flashing, and represented on the chart as flashing parenthesis 2 plus 1. And for example, in this you have on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. And then you have quick, and there are continuous quick, represented as a Q, and they are equal periods of light and dark, as shown here. On, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. And then you have interrupted quick, where you have on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. And then you have Morse code, where the flashes represent a letter in the Morse code alphabet. And in this case, it's a MO-A, Morse code A, and that's how it's written on the chart, MO-A. And in this, for example, you have dot dash. So it's on, off, on, off,
on, off, on, off. And then you have fixed and flashing, and you see it's shown as F and FL. And then you have alternating red and white, and often these are airport beacons, and oftentimes airports are located near water and you can see them from the water. So those are the various types of rhythms that are used on charts. What you actually want to do is use your watch or a stopwatch and actually time those cycles. Now the easiest way to time them is to time the total duration of maybe 5 cycles or even 10 cycles, and then divide that total time by the number of cycles that you counted. And that's going to be a much more accurate way of measuring the duration or the period of a cycle. Now, if we look back at our color picture, we can see that there are certain light rhythms that are used on different types of navigational aids. On the lateral aids, both the red and the green, there are only 5 rhythms used, as shown here: flashing 2, flashing, occulting, quick flashing, and ISO. And those same rhythms are used on both red and green, simply different colors, light colors. And then on the channel junctions are only used composite group flashing 2+1, both in the red and the green. And then in isolated dangers, which use only white lights, and they use flashing 2, 5 seconds. And the safe watermarks use only white lights, and they are a MOA, which is dot dash, dot dash. Day boards, the other day boards, not the range markers, but these day boards use white lights only, and they would be fixed white lights. And the yellow special marks, you can see, will have a yellow light, and they will be either fixed or flashing. So that's how the various light rhythms are applied to the navigational aids.
This is what you might see as a mooring buoy when you're coming into a harbor, and there are buoys like come into Annapolis Harbor, and the buoys are going to be painted like this, blue and white. And then there are information and regulatory marks. That's these, they're described here. It's like this, this, and this. So here's Cape Henry Light. This is the old tower that's no longer in use. This is the newer tower, Chesapeake Light. It's a seacoast light. And if I go to the light list on that, here's Cape Henry Light. And again, all the detailed information on that light. Now see, there's a lot more information about the light flashing sequence in the light list than there is on the chart. Cape Henry Light, it's a MOU, that's the flash sequence,
Dot dash.
20 seconds, 164 feet, 15 miles. But if I look at that in the light list, it says, yes, MOU white 20 seconds, but it also said there's a red sector that shows this light sequence. And this light sequence I read as 1 second flash, 2 second eclipse. 1 second flash, 2 second eclipse, 7 second flash, 7 second eclipse. So again, I'm out at sea and I'm trying to make a positive identification of this light. I've got a very detailed description of the light sequences, and I get that only out of the light list. I'm not going to get it off the chart. It does show me the sector on the chart. Here's the red sector, and the rest of it's white. And a sector light looks like this. They have a certain portion of the light field with a red cover on it. If I am in this area, I'm going to see red.
In closing this discussion, I want to mention that navigational aids can suffer damage or outages due to a number of causes, such as being run down by a ship or an ice flow, electrical failure, rain or wind damage, or sinking, just to name a few. The Coast Guard's Light List is published in printed form annually and in digital form periodically during the year, and so it may not always be completely up to date. But this gap is filled by the following sources. Google USCG Light List, and this will bring you to this link. And this brings you to the Coast Guard's Navigation Center. I want to bring you to this set of links in the upper left-hand corner. One is the weekly light list, and if I click on that, it brings me to this weekly light list. So let's go to volume 2 and download the PDF. And here is a PDF. It's 343 pages. So that's weekly update. And you can peruse that for the particular navigational aids that you're interested in. I'll next go back to the Coast Guard's home page, and you see Light List Summary of Corrections. So let's download that. And here we go for volume 2, Middle Atlantic States. And that will download this document, and you notice that this is 61 pages, so it's a summary of changes. So let us close that out and Google U.S. Coast Guard Notices to Mariners. Select that. Local Notices to Mariners, U.S. Coast Guard. Brings you to this map, and we will pick again the Middle Atlantic States. Brings you to Local Notices to Mariners page for the Middle Atlantic States, and here we are for the month of June, and I will pick this last one in the month of June, and you see that this is PDF new. So I'm going to choose that, and it brings you to this document, Local Notices to Mariners. And in this document, you will find a section entitled Discrepancies. Section 2, Discrepancies. And in here are listed specific light list number items. And if you know the light list number item for the navigational aids that you're interested in, you can search this list. And if your nav aids that you're interested in are not in this list, it means that there are no current discrepancies. So you can scan down and peruse this list for your particular nav aids of interest. And you see it goes on for several pages. I'm going to go back to Google, and I'm going to Google NGA Maritime Safety, and that will bring me to this link, and this is the NGA website, and in here I will choose Publications, and under Publications in the drop down menu I will choose U.S. Coast Guard Light List, and it brings you to this page. Now on this page you can either download the document itself for the area that you're interested in, or you can go to the database, U.S. Coast Guard Light List Query, and this is a complete database. So if I go to Volume 2, which is Middle Atlantic States, and I go to either of these choices, specific aid number, if I know the number of navigational aid that I'm interested in, or a range of aid numbers, or a geographic area bounded by latitude and longitude. So specific aid number, I would enter that here. If I choose range of aid numbers, it gives me from and to aid numbers. Or if I choose geographic area, it's going to give me a set of boxes to fill in the latitudes and longitudes of a box that I would like to define, and it will then give me the navigational aids within that box. So it would behoove the mariner to check these sources to ensure that they have the latest information about the nav aids in their intended sailing area. And I thank you for participating in this presentation.